Imagine for a second that the game you've been playing your entire adult life is glitching.
Mm,
You know the game I'm talking about, the standard operating procedure. You wake up, you commute, you sit in a chair for 8, maybe 10 hours,
yeah.
just trading your life energy for a paycheck.
The grind.
The grind.
Hmm.
And you go home, you're too tired to do anything real, so you scroll, you sleep, and then you do it all over again. You're doing everything right, you're following the manual. But then you look around and you see people who have completely opted out of that reality.
It's like they found a cheat code.
It really is. They aren't working harder than you. In
Mm.
fact, some of them seem to be working significantly less.
Right.
They aren't stressed about rent. They aren't worried about their boss's mood. They've generated this massive wealth. But it's more than that. They have time. And here is the kicker, the part that drives me crazy.
What's that?
It doesn't look like an accident. It doesn't look like they just bought a lottery ticket.
It looks engineered.
Exactly. It looks like a repeatable process. And that is why we are here today. We have a stack of notes, interviews, and a very specific cult classic almanac that claims to have the blueprint for this.
And the premise is bold.
It's incredibly bold. The premise we are testing today is that getting rich is not about luck. It's not about your zip code. It is a skill,
A learnable
a
skill.
learnable skill. The source claims that if you stripped everything away from a person who has mastered this skill, took their money, their contacts, their reputation, and just dropped them in a random English-speaking country,
They'd be wealthy again.
they would be wealthy again within 5 or 10 years.
That is a massive claim. It suggests that wealth isn't something that happens to you. It's something you do. It's a set of mechanics you can learn and apply.
The system.
It's a system. But, and I want to put a giant warning label on this conversation right at the start.
A warning label. We haven't even started making money yet.
We have to. Because as we dug into the source material, a very strange pattern emerged. The skills required to get rich are incredibly specific. We can teach them. We break them down today, step by step.
Okay.
But the engine that drives you to get rich, that burning desire, that anxiety, that feeling that you are not enough until you succeed, that engine is radioactive.
Radio.
If you don't know how to turn it off once you win the game, it will eat you alive.
So the mission today is twofold. First, we engineer the wealth. We find the escape hatch from the 9 to 5.
You build the machine.
But then we have to tackle the twist. Because it turns out, winning the wealth game might actually be the very thing that prevents you from winning the happiness game.
And the happiness game is much, much harder.
All right, let's not get existential just yet. Let's start with the immediate problem, the trap. I want to talk about the learner. This is our listener. Maybe this is me. We are stuck renting our time. The source material is ruthless about this. It says, and I'm paraphrasing, you will not get rich renting out your time. Why is that statement so absolute?
It comes down to some pretty basic math. It's the equation of the industrial age versus the digital age. If you are renting your time, you are paid for inputs.
An hour of my time for an hour of pay.
Exactly. You put in an hour, you get paid for an hour. The problem is inputs are limited. You only have 24 hours in a day. You have a hard ceiling on your income. There's only so much you can earn.
Even if I'm a high-powered lawyer billing, I don't know, $1,000 an hour.
Even then, you're still on the treadmill. Because if you get sick or you want to go on vacation or you just burn out from billing all those hours,
The revenue drops to zero.
it stops. You are still a wage laborer. You're just a very expensive one. True wealth is completely different. Wealth is the separation of your time from your income.
Say that again.
Wealth is having assets, businesses, code, media, investments that earn while you sleep. If you have to be there for the money to appear, you don't have wealth. You have a job.
That distinction hits hard. Assets that earn while you sleep. It sounds great, but most of us are too busy trying to climb the ladder at the job to even think about assets.
Well, that's because we're caught up in what the source calls the status game.
The status game.
This is one of the most important concepts to get your head around if you want to understand why so many ambitious people are also so miserable.
Okay, break it down.
Society is playing two simultaneous games, the wealth game and the status game. The wealth game is positive sum.
Positive sum meaning we can both win. There's not a loser for every winner.
Right. If you build a house and I write a piece of software and we trade, we are both better off.
Yeah.
Wealth creates abundance. We are baking a bigger pie. Everyone can get a slice.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the status game is zero sum. It's a ranking. It's a hierarchy. For me to be number one, you have to be number two. For me to be the smartest person in the meeting, you have to be the one listening to me.
It's a relative hierarchy. It's keeping up with the Joneses, But now the Joneses are on Instagram, and they're on a yacht in Dubai.
Exactly. The Joneses are everywhere all the time. And that's why it's a trap. To win the status game, you have to spend your time and your money signaling to other people that you are successful.
You buy the luxury car not because you love driving, but to show everyone else you can afford it.
You take the promotion not because you want the responsibility, but because you want the fancy title on LinkedIn. It's all about external validation, and it distracts you from the actual goal, which is freedom.
So step one of this cheat code is to stop playing the game everyone else is playing. Stop trying to look rich and start trying to be free.
You have to ignore the noise. You have to opt out. Status is a game of external validation. Wealth is a game of internal asset creation. If you can make that mental switch, you're ready to look at the actual equation for wealth.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's look at the equation. The source material breaks this down into 3 core pillars, it says. Wealth, specific knowledge, plus accountability, plus leverage.
That's the formula.
Let's start with the first one, specific knowledge. When I first read this, I got a little defensive. It says, specific knowledge is the stuff you can't be trained for.
It sounds exclusionary, doesn't it? Like you're born with it or you're not.
It sounds like you either have it or you don't. If I can't go to school to learn it, and I wasn't born a genius, am I just out of luck?
No, not at all. And this is where we need to distinguish between education and learning. The source argues that if you can go to a university and take a class on how to do X, and you get a degree in X.
That means thousands of other people are getting that exact same degree.
Exactly. You are entering a commodity market. You are, by definition, replaceable.
Because anything that can be standardized can be taught to someone else for cheaper, or eventually automated by a computer.
You got it. So specific knowledge isn't about what you learn in a classroom. It's about what you learn through your own genuine curiosity. It's the stuff that is unique to you.
Okay, this is getting a little abstract.
The source uses this beautiful heuristic to find it. Specific knowledge feels like play to you, but looks like work to others.
Feels like play to you, looks like work to others. I want to dig into that, because that sounds a lot like follow your passion, which is usually terrible advice.
It's not follow your passion, it's follow your obsession. Let's take a concrete example. Imagine someone, let's call him Alex. Alex loves real estate. He just, loves looking at houses. He's always on Zillow.
Okay, I know people like that.
But he's also a massive nerd for data analysis. He loves spreadsheets. He loves finding patterns in numbers. Most people would tell Alex, be a real estate agent or be a data analyst. They'd put him in a box.
But the magic is in the combination.
The magic is always in the intersection. If Alex combines those two things, he becomes the guy who can predict neighborhood trends 3 years before they happen based on obscure data points. He builds a system for real estate investing that no normal agent could replicate because they find the data boring, and no normal data scientist could replicate because they don't understand the nuances of houses and neighborhoods. That intersection, that is specific knowledge.
So it's about stacking your unique interests. It's about finding a niche of one, being the only person in the world who does what you do.
And because you're doing what comes naturally to you, what feels like play, you can do it for 16 hours a day without burning out. Meanwhile, your competitors, who are just doing it for the money, will quit after hour 8. You outlast them because you are just being yourself.
You escape competition through authenticity.
That's the line. You don't try to be the best at what everyone else is doing. You define a new game where you are the best by default.
That brings up the 5-hour rule mentioned in the research.
Yeah.
This idea that you dedicate time to just learning.
Right. It's not about being busy. It's about getting better. The most successful people spend about an hour a day, 5 hours a week, just learning. Not doing their job, but following their curiosity. Reading books outside their field, watching documentaries, tinkering with a side project.
And that compounds.
That compound interest of knowledge over 10 or 20 years creates a gap that no one can cross.
Okay, so Alex has his specific knowledge. He's the real estate data wizard. But if he just sits in his basement running spreadsheets, he's not going to get rich. He needs to put himself out there.
Okay.
This brings us to the second pillar, accountability.
This is the scary part. This is the filter that weeds out 99% of people. To get rich, you have to take risks under your own name.
You have to be willing to fail publicly.
Yes. The source calls this the principal agent problem. It's a concept from economics, but it's really about risk and reward.
Can we break that down for the non-economists listening?
Sure. Think of it like a ship. You have the crew, and you have the captain, or rather the ship owner. The crew are agents. They are employees. They get a set wage.
The salary.
A salary. If the ship has a great voyage and makes a ton of money, the crew gets their wage. If the ship has a mediocre voyage, the crew gets their wage. They are shielded from the downside risk.
But they're also cut off from the upside.
Completely. Now, the captain or the ship owner is the principal. They take the risk. If the ship sinks, they lose the asset. They might go bankrupt. But because they are taking that risk, because they are accountable, they get the profit. They get the upside.
Society rewards accountability with leverage.
That's the phrase. It means that if you are willing to stand up and say, I am responsible, if this fails, blame me, people will hand you resources. They will give you capital to invest. They will give you a team to manage. They will give you an audience. But you have to have the stomach for the risk.
This is why equity is so important.
Yeah.
The source harps on this. You must own a piece of a business to gain your financial freedom. You can't just work for a salary.
Because a salary is just the price of your time. It's rent. Equity is the value of the risk you are taking and the upside you are creating. You need to move from being a sailor to being the captain of your own ship.
Okay, so we have specific knowledge, the unique skill, and accountability, the risk. Now we need to amplify it. We need to do more with less. We need the third pillar, leverage.
Give me a lever long enough and I will move the earth. Archimedes.
Right.
In the context of wealth, leverage is what disconnects inputs from outputs. It's the force multiplier. Judgment without leverage is wasted, but judgment with leverage creates massive impact.
The source breaks this down into three types: labor, capital, and what it calls the new leverage. Let's go through them because there's a hierarchy here that is really important. The oldest form is labor.
Labor leverage is just people working for you. It's the pharaoh building the pyramids. It's the CEO with 10,000 employees. And honestly, the source argues this is the worst form of leverage.
Why? That's the traditional measure of success, isn't it? I have a big team.
It's a status trap. Managing people is incredibly difficult. It's messy. Humans have needs, emotions, conflicts. It requires tremendous leadership skill, which is its own form of specific knowledge.
It's high friction.
Extremely high friction. If you are trying to maximize your own freedom, having 100 people dependent on you is actually a nightmare.
Okay, so labor is out, or at least it's the last resort. Next on the list is capital, money.
This was the leverage of the 20th century. Warren Buffett uses capital leverage. He uses money to make more money. It scales beautifully. Managing $100 million isn't that much harder than managing $1 million. The math is the same.
But you need the money first.
There it is. It's permissioned. You need a bank to give you a loan. You need limited partners to give you a fund. You have to ask a gatekeeper to let you into the game. It's not accessible to everyone.
Which brings us to the holy grail, the third form, the leverage of the digital age. Code and media.
This is the game changer. Code and media are permissionless leverage.
Permissionless.
You do not need anyone's permission to write a Python script. You do not need anyone's permission to record this deep dive or upload a YouTube video. The gatekeepers are gone.
And the cost to replicate is what?
Near zero. This is the concept of zero marginal cost of replication. It's a bit technical, but it's crucial to understand.
Let's do it.
Okay. If I own a bakery and I sell you a loaf of bread, and then the next customer wants a loaf, I have to bake another loaf. I need more flour, more yeast, more of my time. The marginal cost, the cost of the next unit is high.
But if I write a piece of software,
if you write code or record a video, the first time you do it, it costs you your time and energy. But the second person who uses your app, the millionth person who watches your video,
it costs you nothing. You press copy paste.
Exactly. The internet acts as a free distribution machine. It does the work for you.
The source calls this an army of robots.
It's a beautiful metaphor. We've been waiting for physical robots to come do our chores. But we already have digital robots. If you write code, that code works for you 24/7. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't complain. It serves customers while you are on vacation.
So let's go back to Alex, our real estate data guy. He
Oh.
shouldn't just be consulting for clients one-on-one.
No, that's renting time again. He's back in the trap.
He needs to use leverage.
Alex should write a piece of software that automatically analyzes the data for people. Or he should start a YouTube channel explaining his method. He creates the product once and it serves 1 million people. That is how you disconnect time from money. That is how you sleep and get rich.
The new rich are the people who have figured this out. The YouTubers, the podcasters, the sauce founders. They are using permissionless leverage.
And notice, they often have very small teams. Some of the most profitable online businesses are run by 1 or 2 people. They don't have the labor headache. They have an army of robots instead.
So we have the machine built. Specific knowledge is the engine. Accountability is putting your name on it. And leverage is the massive force multiplier. We are moving fast now. But the source warns that speed is dangerous if you don't know where you're going. We need to talk about judgment.
Direction over speed. In an age of infinite leverage, a small mistake can be catastrophic.
How so?
If you are driving a bicycle and you turn the wrong way, you just turn around. It's no big deal. If you are flying a supersonic jet, which is what leverage is, and you turn the wrong way, you are in the ocean before you can blink. Your decisions have much greater consequences.
So how do we cultivate this judgment? Because it feels abstract. Is it just being smart? Is it IQ?
It's not about raw IQ, it's about wisdom. And wisdom comes from understanding how the world actually works, not how we think it worked or how we wish it worked. The source suggests we need to build what it calls a lattice work of mental models.
Okay, mental models is a buzzword we hear a lot. It usually just ends up being a list of terms like Pareto principle or inversion. But how do we actually use them in a practical way?
That's the key question. It's not about memorizing terms, it's about installing operating systems in your brain.
Right.
Let's pick one and go deep. Let's look at game theory, specifically the concept of iterated games.
Iterated games, meaning games we play over and over again.
Exactly. Life is not a series of one-off encounters. It's a series of iterated games.
Yeah.
You don't just deal with a person once. You deal with your spouse, your colleagues, your customers for decades.
Right.
In a single game, a one-time transaction with a stranger you'll never see again. It might make sense to cheat them to get ahead.
To maximize short-term gain.
But in an iterated game, reputation is everything. All the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or learning, come from compound interest.
Compound interest applies to relationships.
Yes. If you screw someone over for a quick buck today, you reset your reputation to 0. Word gets out. No one wants to play with you anymore. But if you play the long game, if you are honest when it's expensive to be honest, people trust you. That trust compounds. Over 20 years, that trust becomes your biggest asset.
So the mental model here is play long-term games with long-term people.
And avoid people who play short-term games.
So good judgment isn't just knowing facts. It's having these fundamental frameworks installed in your brain so you can predict the long-term consequences of your actions.
Right. It's about seeing the second and third order effects. You study microeconomics to understand supply and demand. You study evolution to understand human behavior and why we do irrational things. And then when you face a business decision, you don't guess. You run it through the models. You simulate the future.
But to do that, you need time. You need quiet.
This is the empty space requirement. You cannot have good judgment if your calendar is booked solid from 9 to 5 with meetings.
This hits home for me. I feel like if I'm not busy, I'm failing. I'm being lazy.
That's the worker bee mindset. The busy worker is reacting. They are answering emails. They are putting out fires. The person with judgment, the billionaire, is often sitting in a room, staring at the wall, thinking.
It seems like luxury.
It's a necessity. They are waiting for the one right decision that is worth 100 bad ones. They're not paid for their effort. They're paid for their judgment. You need to be bored to be brilliant.
So let's pause and look at our protagonist, the learner, our listener. They've done it. They've stopped playing the status game. They found their obsession, their specific knowledge. They took accountability. They put their name on the line. They built a media empire or a software company using permissionless leverage. They used good judgment to steer the ship.
They have won the wealth game.
They have millions in the bank. They don't have an alarm clock. They can travel anywhere. They have freedom of time. They are free.
They have reached the summit of the mountain.
So, we're done. Right. This is the end of the deep dive. High fives all around. We won. You doing that face again? The warning label face.
I'm doing the face because this is where the source material does something really uncomfortable. If this was a normal business book, it would end here. And they lived happily ever after. But Naval spends the first half of the book teaching you how to get rich. And the second half explaining why it won't solve your problems.
Wait, hold on. Won't solve your problems. I'm pretty sure a few $1 million would solve about 95% of my problems right now.
It will solve your money problems. Let's be very clear about that. It will remove the anxiety of rent, food, and healthcare.
Yeah.
It's huge. I'm not diminishing that for a second, but it won't solve your internal problems.
Okay.
And in fact, the drive that got you rich might actually make those internal problems worse.
That sounds like something rich people say to make poor people feel better. Money is such a burden. Give me a break.
It does sound like that on the surface, but let's look at the mechanism we just built. To get rich, what did we need? We needed dissatisfaction. We needed to look at the world and say, this isn't good enough. I need to change it. We needed a burning desire.
Right. Ambition. a drive to succeed.
But what is happiness?
Happiness is joy, excitement, winning, getting what you want.
That's the trap. We confuse happiness with pleasure. Pleasure is a dopamine hit. It's eating a burger or getting a like on Twitter or closing a deal. It's a high. It peaks and then it crashes. And then you need more. It's an addiction.
So what is real happiness then, according to this philosophy?
The source defines happiness as peace. More specifically, a peace of mind. It is the state where nothing is missing. It is the absence of desire.
The absence of desire. That sounds like being a vegetable. It sounds boring.
It sounds boring to a mind that's addicted to dopamine hits. But think about the best moments of your life. Maybe you were watching a sunset. Maybe you were holding your child. In that split second, were you worrying about your email? Were you planning your next business move?
No, I was just there. Present.
You were present. You didn't want anything else. You felt complete. That is happiness. The problem is the skill of getting rich requires high desire. The skill of being happy requires low desire. They are opposing forces.
This is the narrative twist. We spent 20 years training our brain to want things, to chase things, to be dissatisfied. And then we get the money, and we realize we can't turn the engine off.
We are running the wealth software in the happiness phase of life, and it glitches. This is why you see so many miserable, successful people. They are experts at solving external problems, but they are complete amateurs at solving internal ones.
There's a quote from the source material that is absolutely brutal. Desire is a binding agreement.
Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want.
But a contract to be unhappy, I've never heard it put that way.
Think about it. I will be happy when I get the promotion. You have just signed a contract to be unhappy until that happens, and then you get it, and for 5 minutes you feel good, and then your brain immediately generates a new desire. Okay, I will be happy when I get the VP title. You are perpetually postponing your own peace.
It's the hedonic treadmill. The finish line just keeps moving further away.
Exactly. So the twist of this entire journey is that the protagonists spent their whole life climbing the mountain of wealth, thinking happiness was at the top. But when they get there, they realize happiness was actually down in the valley the whole time, available to anyone who could just stop climbing for 5 minutes.
Okay, but we can't just stop climbing. We have bills, we have responsibilities, we aren't monks. Is the suggestion that we should just give up on ambition and sit under a tree?
No, not at all. The suggestion is to be aware of your desires, to choose them consciously. Don't have 20 desires running at once, pulling you in different directions.
So don't try to be a billionaire and a marathon runner and a perfect parent and the most popular person at the party all at once.
Exactly. Pick one big desire at a time. I want to build this business. Okay, suffer for that one thing. Be unhappy until you achieve it, if you must. But let go of the desire to have the perfect beach body and the fanciest car and the most followers on Instagram.
It's about focus, but for your desires.
It's about realizing that happiness is a skill, just like wealth. You have to train for it. It doesn't just happen to you.
How? How do you train for peace? What are the practical steps?
Well, earlier we talked about freedom. Wealth buys you freedom too. Freedom to travel, freedom to buy things, freedom to do what you want.
Right.
But happiness is freedom from.
Freedom from what?
Freedom from your own mind. Freedom from anger. Freedom from envy. Freedom from the voice in your head that is constantly judging, comparing, and worrying.
The source mentions meditation, but not in the way I usually hear it. It's not about apps and guided imagery.
No. The framing it uses is intermittent fasting for the mind.
I love that framing. It makes so much sense.
We constantly feed our brains data, news, texts, notifications, problems. Our brain never gets a chance to digest. It's always in a state of agitation.
So meditation is just not eating.
Yeah.
Mentally.
It's just sitting alone in a room with no input and letting your brain process the backlog. It's debugging the system. You just sit there for an hour. No phone, no music, no books.
That sounds terrifying.
It is at first. Your brain will scream at you. It will replay every embarrassing moment from high school. It will generate a to-do list a mile long, but eventually it runs out of fuel. And what's left is silence. That silence is peace.
There's another practical tip for this phase of life. Retirement. But again, a redefined version of the word.
We usually think retirement is an age, like 65. But in this philosophy, retirement is a state of being. It's the moment you stop sacrificing today for an imaginary tomorrow.
You stop living in the future tense.
You are retired when you don't have to be anywhere else. And you can achieve that in 3 ways.
Oh.
1, you have enough passive income to cover your expenses. That's the wealth game.
Okay.
2, you lower your burn rate to basically 0. That's the monk approach. Or 3, and this is the most elegant.
You do something you love so much that the line between work and play vanishes.
Exactly. Which brings us full circle to specific knowledge. If you are doing the thing that feels like play to you, you are already retired. You never have to work another day in your life.
You've hacked the system. You've won both games at once.
That's the ultimate goal.
This deep dive has been a roller coaster. We went from how to get rich to why money's a trap to how to find enlightenment. But there is one final mind-bending idea that the source leaves us with. It's about the self.
This is the ultimate level of the game. We spend all this time building up our identity. I am a CEO. I am a success. I am a failure. We think that voice in our head is us.
Right. Of course it is. I am the voice thinking the thoughts.
But are you? If you can hear the voice, then who is listening?
Okay, now you're messing with me.
It's a genuine question. It's the concept of the observer.
Mm-hmm.
The real you isn't your job title. It isn't your bank account. It isn't even your anxieties or your brilliant ideas. The real you is the awareness behind all of that, the consciousness that is watching all of that happen.
It's like the screen that the movie is playing on. The movie might be a tragedy or a comedy, but the screen is just white. It's unaffected by what's projected on it.
Precisely. And the ultimate liberation comes when you realize that you don't need to change the movie to be happy. You just need to realize you are the screen.
Yeah. That is a lot to process. But it feels lighter, less pressure.
It should. It means the stakes aren't as high as you think. You can play the Wolf game. You can build the empire. It's fun. It's a great game. But don't mistake the game for reality. The real prize isn't the money. The real prize is freedom from the game.
So for the listener, our learner, who has been on this whole journey with us, what is the final takeaway here?
I think the takeaway is productize yourself. Find the thing that is uniquely you. That intersection of your obsessions, scale it with code and media. Get rich so you can buy your freedom.
But don't stop there.
Don't stop there. Use that freedom to examine your own mind, to dismantle your desires one by one, and to find the peace that was there underneath the noise the whole time.
Money solves money problems. But only you can solve you problems.
Beautifully put.
I think I'm going to go cancel a few of those contracts to be unhappy I've made with myself. Maybe I don't need to win every argument on the internet today.
That sounds like a great start.
Thank you for guiding us through this. It's been a ride. And to you listening, thank you for lending us your most valuable asset, your time. Go build something. Go find your specific knowledge. And we'll see you in the next deep dive.